Any way you look at this, this is just a regular skateboard. It's made from 7 plies, it has a standard truck alignment, there's not even a graphic, so what on earth could make this cost $300? Well, that's because I designed it myself. The width, length, wheelbase, kick angle, taper point, fingers of flat, every aspect of this board was chosen by me, which is wild. If you've watched the channel for a while, you might have heard me complain about skateboard shapes a few times, particularly the length. I'm only 5'1", so when I buy a street deck that is 32 inches long, it is literally more than half my height. And I actually didn't realize how much of a problem it really was until I started skating my Waltz Bixby shape. Because for a freestyle skateboard, it's pretty friendly to regular ollie and street style tricks. And I just loved the size of it. Everything just felt so comfortable because it was a better length for my natural stance. So I bit the bullet and paid $300 to have this board custom made. And I actually bought this a year ago. Bo Jafiro, who owns Open Source Skateboards, the place I got this custom made at, actually engraves right on the skateboard when it was built, and it was custom on the 25th of January 2022. So this board is already a year old. I meticulously took the measurements of all my decks, did tons of research, and finally came up with the perfect imperfect design. A deck just for me at 7.8 inches wide and 29 3/4 inches long. And so I really just wanted to know. I wanted to know if I was being dramatic and nitpicky about the size and length of skateboards, or if having a shorter skateboard would just be a lot more comfortable riding experience for someone my size. And it did and it didn't. Having a shorter board is definitely helpful in part because the distance my foot has to travel decreases. If I had long legs, it wouldn't be a problem bringing my foot from the middle of the board up to the nose of a 32 1/4 inch long deck. But because I have short legs, when I'm trying to get my foot up and off the nose for something like a kickflip, 2 inches is a big difference. I'm probably 6 or 7 inches shorter than the average skater that companies have in mind when designing decks. And I'm also not jumping down stairs, which you might want a longer wheelbase for. So the extra large skateboards that are popular today, the ones that are 8.5 inches wide by 33 inches long, they weren't designed for me or someone who skates how I skate, and that's totally normal. That's just business. Most people don't skate the way I skate, and people like those big boards. That's why they sell. But I do love riding smaller boards. There was definitely an adjustment period for me. Even though I have the smaller freestyle boards, it was the first time I was skating a small popsicle deck, and I definitely had an adjustment period to get through. My foot would slide off the nose during backside 180s in the beginning, and I ended up throwing the board quite often just because I wasn't used to it. I did also design it with rather steep kicks, so I had a lot of ghost pop to get through in the beginning. I haven't skated in a while, which is why the decal grip has all bubbled off. But like I said, that's because this board is over a year old already. I skated it quite a bit over the summer. I got some good shredding in, and it was a lot of fun. It actually worked better for freestyle than I expected it to. I was getting board slides with it and all kinds of things. I really enjoyed this deck. And to be honest, I mostly wanted to make this video as an excuse to give Open Source Skateboards a bit of a shout out. It's a company out in San Diego owned by Bo Jafiro, who's just a really talented skater and huge innovator when it comes to skateboard design. He's the best. He experiments with different sources of wood, like trying to use local species. He uses his company as a platform to teach people how to make their own skateboards. And then for someone like me, he gives a skater the opportunity to explore and make a one-off deck. And it's one that I made that I got to experiment with and try something that I didn't have to wait for a company to maybe make. It's a great thing. I love what Bo's doing. It's really expensive, but when you're buying a custom shape, That's what you gotta pay. You have to pay to play there. The video wasn't sponsored by him in any way. Actually, a year ago, I have had this for a year, and when I first reached out to him, I asked him if he'd actually take a few videos making the board, and I'd put it in a video. And so here we are over a year later, and I actually never made the video I said I was going to make. But that's just because, you know, I've actually just had a wild year, to be honest, and it's been really busy and really stressful, and I still wanted to make this video because I really love what Bo does. And that's it. If you want to know part of why it's so expensive, it's because the mold, the skateboard, and the shipping are charged separately. You know, anything you get custom is going to be expensive because you're making something that's one of a kind, but it's literally built meticulously by the literal skateboard craftsman that is Bo. It's such a breath of fresh air in the skateboard making industry to have someone who really cares about the process, the sourcing of the wood, and also just the design. And that's why I think it's so nice to have someone like Bo who's really ready and willing to kind of push skateboard making, teach you how to make a skateboard. He can send the molds to you if you want to make the board yourself, but you can't 3D print the mold. It's really cool. You can do a ton of stuff through his company. It's really impressive. It's another thing that makes me really happy to be a part of the particular skate community that I'm in. Like, it's just so nice. And the internet has made so many things possible that I never imagined to be so. Like, 12-year-old Sarah, who thought skateboarding was cool but couldn't even learn how to shove it, would faint if she saw me kickflip my own custom shape.